Hello gamers. Today is Sunday, December the 31st, 2023, so it's New Year's Eve. And we have something rather different today. And over the next several days, knowing me with the amount of time I take to play these games, I am playing for the first time SPI's Napoleon at Waterloo, which was at one point, as I understand things, given away as a free game with, I imagine, Strategy and Tactics magazine. I know it's been republished since then. It's been published by Decision Games, I believe it is. They've got a box set that's selling right now. And the game itself, very simple, very straightforward. Hex and counters, zone of control, that sort of thing. But the main reason I got specifically interested in it was because, you know, how YouTube will just sort of show you these things that it thinks you're interested in. And one of them I was extremely interested in was video of Philip Sabin playing Napoleon at Waterloo with his tweaked rules and also with Airfix miniatures, which I'm a huge fan of. And that was an excellent production, excuse me, as one might imagine from such a learned gentleman as Mr. Sabin. And so what I'm doing here is I'm about to play this using his tweaked rules, which and the YouTube Philip Sabin's YouTube piece also mentioned, of course, the just one second because I've already forgotten the details. Hang on. Philip Sabin recommended the book Wargaming Waterloo by Charles Esdale, which is available free from, I believe it's the U.S. Marine Corps Press, something like that. Anyway, download it free online, and there's also a computer-read audio version of it, which is a splendid, handy thing to have. Anyway, so I've read the book, and marvellous, and it discusses in great detail the battle, and more specifically of interest to wargamers, how the battle has been handled by lots and lots of different board games, and also to a very small extent, it touches on refighting the battle with miniatures. And so I got fascinated by the whole concept of what Philip Sabin has done to the rules, and that's what I'm going to play. The components that I have in front of me right now are the game was free, so I, based on the sort of notion that SPI or whoever has the rights to the SPI version wouldn't mind terribly much, I went ahead and printed out, I just downloaded from Board Game Geek the map, printed out the map, printed the counters onto sheets of A4 that were themselves a single label, like an A4 label, and then stuck that to some nice thick indestructible card. I do like thick counters, and cut them all out. This is the first time that I've actually done this with a with a published war game, as far as I can remember. Yeah, I've got it all set up now, and of course this is now set up according to the Sabin tweaks, the Sabin amendments, of which there are quite a number, and I will mention right up front as many as I can remember that are not sort of built into the rules, but are more concerned with the forces that are deployed and so forth. Up here on the top line here, this line up here, we got all the counters that came with the counter sheet that I downloaded and mounted that are not used in the Sabin version. So this is, I really haven't read up on this, but this is some sort of variant including Grouchy's forces. This is a variant including, I don't know, another Prussian corps or something along those lines. Anyway, they're not in the game. Over here, there are 2 divisions that were extracted, removed under the Sabin amendments. And then this counter has actually been replaced. This is the detachment that was in Hougoumont. And that, instead of being, it's a 1-4, which is a combat strength of 1 and a move of 4. And that has been replaced under the Sabin amendments with, it's the same counter, but I made one up special for the Sabin amendments, and it's a 3-4, and that was to reflect the fact that it was a lot beefier than a 1-4 because it was constantly being fed. I think Sabin refers to what was it, guards companies, I think it was, something like that. Right, so that's been done. Apart from that, several of the positions of the Anglo-Allied units have been moved around. Some just, a hex or 2 to a different location, some swapped with other units and so forth. So there's been, there are some rather detailed instructions of how to redeploy some of the Anglo-Allies. The French deployments are exactly, are completely unchanged. Then what else do we have? Instead of being 10 turns, we've got 6 turns because each turn is an hour and a half. Each turn is going to be 90 minutes. So that will actually move, instead of moving into the 2 p.m. slot, it'll move into the 2:30 slot, which I'm going to say is sort of on that line there. A group of Prussians are going to be, I suppose it would be a corps, are going to be coming on at 7 o'clock instead of at 3 o'clock, which is under the original rules. And then, now these I've had to sort of, I haven't exhaustively researched it. I want to get on and play the game. So these are the rest of the Prussians which are going to come on. And normally everyone would have been able to come on under the original rules at 3 o'clock. Can I say Philip instead of Sabin? I don't like saying Sabin. Philip talks about this group of Prussians having to come on at 7 o'clock. So they're there. But there's no mention of the other group of Prussians. So therefore, they can't come up at 3 o'clock because there's no 3 o'clock turn. There is a 2:30 turn and there's a 4 o'clock turn. So what I've done is I pushed them down into the 4 o'clock turn. I figured that if I brought them up instead to the 2:30 turn, that would be bringing them on sooner. And as near as I can remember, the general theme of things is the one thing you don't do is make things easier for Napoleon. And another thing you don't do is make the Prussians show up earlier than they really did. So I figured if they can't show up at 3 o'clock, they're going to have to be pushed into the 4 o'clock slot. So that's where they are. Right. Other than that, I've scribbled together from the sort of paragraph and paragraph and paragraph of amendments. I've scribbled together I've tried to make some brief facts on what goes on in the amended rules in relation to combat procedures and combat results. It looks like we've had some chaps show up just to sort of add a little bit of colour to the situation. Marvellous, marvellous. And, or I should say a bit of extra colour, yes. And then, I think that's about it for the components. And we're getting ready to go. This, of course, now means that, as I said, instead of before we had 10 turns in the original game, and now there are 6. So that's an interesting concept. There's there was another factor too, which I haven't done anything about, but I'll put some sort of marker in place so I don't forget to do it. In the Sabin version, the Sabin amendments, the last three hexes up here, that's 1, 2, and 3, are, and I'll take that to be that hex and that hex, are unplayable. They're not there. They're trimmed off. Okay. And one of the things that happens too is that these are the exit hexes for the French to try and get to in the original game. And in the Sabin amendments, there is no point in the French trying to exit that way. And actually, they're not even allowed, if I remember correctly, to exit the map. I believe no one is allowed to exit the map. And but more specifically, the French don't get any victory points for doing it. So the French are getting their victory points for getting stuck into the Anglo-Allies and all that sort of thing. Okay. Yes, I remembered. Where's my pointer? There we go. Yeah. Also, you've got starting out 3 Anglo-Allied units. So we've got here and here and here. Those 3 units there, we can see that underneath them there's an extra counter, and on the counter it shows you the turn after which they can move freely. So they've all got counter number 1 underneath them, meaning that on turn 1 they can't move. Those are the Sabin amendments. And then the same thing is going on for 2 of the French units. Let's see, we've got the Guard heavy cavalry here and the Guard light cavalry there. They cannot move on turn 1. And then we've got the 3 units of the Imperial Guard here. They cannot move turns 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. And then we've also got the these 5 units here. We've all got that counter underneath them, where on turns 1, 2, and 3, the only movement they're allowed to make is to the east. So if you want to send them eastward to be able to anticipate or be able to protect the flank from possible Prussian incursions, you can do that, but you cannot send them whoosh straight forward at Wellington and his chaps, because that is taken to be unrealistic. So there are some restraints placed on here on what can be done that would fly in the face, obviously fly in the face of history, as it were. Okay, now I will say that starting out, it does occur to me, of course, that as the game has gone from 10 turns to 6. It will be interesting because there aren't that many counters, and it is only 6 turns. Now I've goodness knows I've played games before, big games that were a limited number of turns. In fact, I just finished playing, of course, SPI's Normandy, which was what was that? It was 6 or 7 turns. Maybe it was a week, perhaps 6 or 7. So you sort of think, well, I mean, how many opportunities do you get to sort of act as a player if you've only got that many turns? But this is meant to be a short game, so there aren't that many counters and there aren't that many turns. So even at my pace, where I agonize over every move, even at my pace, perhaps this game will only take me a few days, with video and commentary and all that sort of thing to go through. So we shall see. And right, let's see if I can. The game rules as written. The game rules as written are, yes, they're pretty short and straightforward, but a lot of subtlety is added by Philip's rules. So I can easily imagine that I may have some goofs that are about to pop out where I will miss something under Philip's amendments. But I will do the best I can. I've never played this board game before. I have actually wargamed Waterloo in miniature using the excellent volley and bayonet rules. And of course, diehard fans will know that elsewhere on this channel, you can see chaps like these chaps in action in volley and bayonet in 20mm at Quatre Bras, which was I'm very pleased with the way that video worked out, and people have said some nice things about it. So yeah, but I've wargamed Waterloo using volley and bayonet, not with 20mm, but with 6mm chaps, and that was a lot of fun. And that would have been, gosh, something like 30 years ago. But anyway, let's get on with the game. And more tinkering before we get started. What I've done is I've decided to use these little green indicators to show something I haven't mentioned yet in the Sabin amendments, which is a key concept in the amendments. That is to say, the idea of shielding Anglo-Allied units, which is to say they are in a position which is taking advantage of the ground. They are in the reverse side of a slope. They are in improved positions in a building. I'm thinking of loopholes, that sort of thing. And Mr. Sabin speaks of, when playing the board game, of turning the units to the side to indicate that they are shielded, which means that they get basically they get a bonus in combat until such a time as they move out of that position. And of course, as all the die-hard fans of my games will know, what I tend to do when I'm playing a board game is I will, when I move a piece, I will turn it to the side as a memory aid so that I don't accidentally move units twice. I find it very, very, very sad and tearful when watching a video where you can see that somebody has lost track of the units that they have moved, and they may move a unit twice, or they may rule that they can't move a unit which they have not yet in fact moved. So I simply, when I move my units, I twist them to the side and then either reset them or just sort of work through the sides on different turns, and it's then very, very clear who's done what. So I needed another indicator to indicate which units were shielded. It can only be a question for the Anglo-Allied units, and now we've done it. So we've used green to indicate that it's got something to do with the terrain, green grass, that sort of thing. And so I've got these tiny little counters that I made, and they seem to be doing the job. Yes, they would be awfully fiddly to pick up in a two-player game, but of course I don't have to worry about that because I'm playing this solo. So there. Anyway, onwards and upwards. Bit more introductory stuff as it occurs to me, because basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to plan the first move, and in doing so I'm having to keep referring back to the rules, referring back to Philip Sabin's amendments, and worth pointing out that let's see, you basically got 3 different geographical locations at which, if they're in the enemy's hands, you've lost the equivalent of 6 strength points in terms of victory points to the enemy. So this, in simple terms, this game is all about killing the enemy, and you want to kill more than the enemy, and you want to more or less make sure that you're doing that when either the timer runs out or when the total comes to 40 strength points lost by somebody. Anyway, that was a bit of a mouthful, but I'm not going to read you the rules. So, but the 3 locations that are key are Hougoumont, as we might imagine, Les Saintes, which is here, and then Plancenoit, which is down here. And as we might imagine, the Allies effectively are losing 6 points if the French hold Hougoumont at the end. They also lose 6 points if the French hold Les Saintes at the end, and the French will lose 6 points if the enemy holds Plancenoit. Was it Plancenoit? Pretty sure at the end. Let me check on that. Right, we have a resolution, yes. Plancenoit, if occupied by the enemy, will lose the French 6 points. And the thing that threw me there was that in the amendments, it said if an Allied unit currently occupies either of its hexes. And it threw me. It was entirely my fault. As we can see, Plancenoit, here and here, 2 hexes, okay. But until a few minutes ago, only one of those, that one, was marked. What happened was my printer, which in combination with a PDF, which in combination with Chrome, the browser, a combination, a triumvirate that are not entirely to be trusted, not the best of them, managed to print only half of the last row of hexes here. So I had a quick look at that and I thought, well, we can see that there's a wood there. This road goes into this hex. Oh, well, there's a wood here. Okay. But what I couldn't have known was that Dr. Bickley had caught the 815 from Paddington. No, that's a different story. What I couldn't have known was that there was indeed another building representing more of Plancenoit, which is further down this hex down here. So what I've done is, not having a pen handy in the right colour, was I made a most delightful little house, you see, and because I'm using the Perspex sheet here, I went ahead and cut out a little house, popped it under there rather delicately, and so now Plancenoit is twice the size of it was, so it gives them 2 hexes that need to be defended. Marvellous. And right, I mean, can we get started or what? Well, what I have done to get to start the ball, as I believe somebody said on the day, was it Wellington? At least he did in the movie, you know, Waterloo 1970, which is a big thing, Waterloo 1970. It's what got me started on most of this, you know. Watch that film, get the airfix figures, you're set for life. Right, so anyway, let's get the old pointer. To get the ball started, as it were, what I did was I've actually replicated all of the first turn moves for the French that Philip Sabin did in his video. Now, of course, what will happen? I thought, well, let's start off with that, because at least that way I'm not going to make half a dozen mistakes, and also I'm just exploring the system. You know, I want to get familiar with it, and then I can have a proper game where I actually fully try to balance or pit my wits against the opponent, who is, of course, me. Anyway, so I thought I'd get off to a decent start without breaking any rules. Now, let's see. Yes, and I say start because, of course, as soon as one starts rolling the dice, then things will change. The results will not be the same. So in general, what's happened is there's been an attack. These chaps here and here have gone. Unfortunately, in Philip Sabin's video, he is able to name the commanders of each of the divisions. And I'm certainly not enough of a Waterloo expert to be able to do that. I'd have to have a list in front of me. And I think it would be nice. I mean, if somebody out there is sort of bored and, you know, wants some way to fill their free time, it would be nice if somebody published a list of the commanders of these different counters. Now, of course, some of them it would be very straightforward, but others you'd have to sort of make judgment calls, I would think, to see who exactly is represented by the counter. But anyway, so right, we've got Hougoumont here, which is, of course, fairly strongly defended because we've got this has become a 3-4 instead of a 1-4. And then 2 infantry units here on either side. One went round that way, one round that way. Artillery in position here are in position to be able to bombard, that is to say, use ranged fire. But they're not necessary because there's already a 2-to-1 in place. We'll go into the details in a moment. So that happened there. Some cavalry was sent over. These 2 units of cavalry were sent over that way to bolster the left flank. In the centre, basically, these 4 divisions of Durland's Corps, First Corps, straight forward to try to take La Haye Sainte and to basically punch a hole or something like that in Wellington's centre. Let's see, the artillery didn't move. We've got some cavalry moving up here. And let's see, we've got, this is D'Erlon here, these 4 units here. This unit here actually belongs to this corps over there, just protecting the centre. We've had some, I believe they're, actually I don't know. Never mind. We've had cavalry go up here to just east of La Haye, not to be confused with, that's La Haye, not to be confused with La Haye Sainte. And also in the amendments, I don't think I mentioned this, where we have Papelotte, La Haye, and also Frischemont. Those, they don't, it's as if, in the amendments, it's as if they didn't exist. They don't count as buildings. And Philip Sabin explains why, because in the battle they weren't occupied by anyone, I believe, was the general theme. So, yes, so it's as if they're not there, but I'm just referencing them because their names are printed on the map. Anyway, then also we had the corps down here, which was not allowed to just advance in any old direction. It was only allowed to, in turns 1 through 3, only allowed to advance to the east. So they've advanced to the east at a measured pace, as Philip Sabin puts it. The Guard can't move. They can't move on the first turn. They can't move on the first turn. So these units have advanced to the east, and one of them has shot down here through Plancenoit and is now in this position here. So that's what's gone on there. So attacking-wise, we're going to see attacks here at Hougoumont, and we're going to see attacks up here in the region of La Haye Sainte, and also just a little bit there to the east of La Haye Sainte, where we have, I think, I am actually using a magnifying glass for some of this stuff. Well, we can do it with the camera, can't we? Yeah, let's have a look. Can we? Who have we got? Yeah, I think that's Picton there. I think that's, excuse me, I think that's Picton there. Right. Right, so we're going into the attack. Right. And if we do the math then for this particular attack here, the artillery wasn't necessary because, or doesn't need to shoot right now, because we've got 7 and 5, which is 12, against, now they've got 3, but because they're in a building under the amendments, you will add 3 if you're defending in a woods, road or building. So they are worth 6. So it's 12 against 6. But there's also a +1 on the die if any of the defenders are shielded, which they are. So it's 2 to 1 with a +1 on the die, and in this game plus adjustments to the die is bad for the attacker. So let's roll it up and see what we get. And nice blue die there for the French. So we got a 5 +1 becomes a 6. So it's a 2 to 1 with a 6, which is obviously it's going to be a bad result. It's attacker retreat. So I think that's pretty well unmolested in the rules. So let's in the Sabin amendments. So pretty disastrous result there for the attacking French. Attacker retreat. Let's see what goes on. And this is where the French ended up. They had attacker retreat, so they have to retreat 1 hex. So this unit retreated from here to here, and then this unit that was here retreated to there by displacing the artillery to that hex there. So that's what you've got there. It does occur to me, it's interesting because under these rules, the units which are shielded, or is it units which are like units which are in a building? Here we go. Shielded. Here we go. Shielded defenders in a building may ignore defender retreat. So the best result that the attacking French could have got was defender retreat. which could have been ignored by the shielded defenders. So it almost seems like making that attack was entirely pointless. And maybe, was it entirely pointless? Am I missing something? Because even if, oh no, I suppose there is one exchange result in there, and yeah, there's an adjustment to the exchange result. It becomes defender retreat if all defenders are cavalry or all attackers are bombarding artillery, but that's not the case. So there was indeed a 1 in 6 chance, I suppose. Yes, there was. There was a 1 in 6 chance. I suppose it would be if a 4 had been rolled, then the result would have been a total of 5, which would have been exchange, which would have eliminated the Anglo-allies in there. So, right. But anyway, they've been pushed back so they can attack next turn. And, well, there we are. And then we move over to the big bash over here. So I'm going to resolve it as did Philip, which is to say we've got the attack going in here from these chaps onto Picton, and supported by the artillery here. So that's 4 and 3 is 7 up against the 7, and they're shielded, of course.